What's good, YouTube? Orstorm here, coming at you guys with another deck profile today. Today is going to be Speedroids post Shiv, or Shining Victories as it's more commonly referred to. Shining Victories is coming out in May, and we're going to be getting the, of course, Ultimate Falcon and Skip Force are coming in that set. We're also going to be getting, what are the other cards? We're going to be getting some new Speedroid support, which is going to be in this video. We'll also be getting a revamp of Blue Eyes, which I'm really excited about. I think it's probably the most viable new deck so far, but I'm going to talk about some cards I've tested and why I do and don't like them. High Speed Re-Level is certainly not a bad card because it allows your Chambara to go up to 4K and it can attack twice per game. The problem with this card is I've tended out, because you're running a combo deck that requires tuners and non-tuners, a card like Re-Level that requires you to already have a monster on the field can be a dead card at multiple times. It definitely was great when I had it and won me games when I resolved it, but I don't find it necessary, maybe in the side deck, to get over beefy threats like Ultimate Falcon, which this deck can sometimes have trouble with. But anyway, and then one copy of Speedroid Peng Chingo card. Basically, this is just kind of like an Exiled Force, if you will, except instead of popping itself, you discard a monster machine type to pop a monster. I found this card kind of really clogged a lot. It only really helps me when I had any of my tuners in my hand. And it is the beefiest Speedroid monster that's main deck monster, so I feel like it's decent at clearing your opponent's field of annoying threats, especially against Monarchs. This deck does not have a good Monarch matchup. And as far as Giga X is another card I tested, I never really went into it. I just found it's pretty dang mediocre. Come here, cat. I just found that Giga X, I just never went into it, and I feel like it was just more of a win more card. It's great in theory because you can search out your entire deck basically, but I never really went into it. I found most of the time Totem Bird was a far better option, because with Totem Bird it can keep you safe from cards like Regeki. Chidori is just, it removes annoying problem threats. You don't really want to be searching. You want to be searching is good, but unless you this card's only really good, it seems when you're up on your opponent already. As far as some other cards I tested, I've seen Dragon's Mind. My problem with Dragon's Mind is that it does nothing. Now, granted, you already have a pretty solid Cosmo matchup already if you have Crystal Wing out, because Crystal Wing just murders Cosmos. But hypothetically, say you don't have Crystal Wing already out, and you're sitting on your Clear Wing, and your opponent, you flip a Dragon's Mind on a Cosmo player. Most of the time, they're going to have the out to it. Remember, they can just summon any of their recruiters and then any of their their pilots, and then just drop a Dark Destroyer and clear your field. Remember, they do not have to activate Dark Destroyer's effect, so you won't be able to negate it, and that's going to suck. Now, obviously, if you have that same Clear Wing backed up, protected by a Follow Wing, you're kind of in a better position, but I just think this card is good, but not a little bit overhyped for what it does. Breakthrough Skill is probably the best option currently in this deck, because Kendama can only be brought back from the graveyard by its effect if you control no cards. So cards like continuous cards that sit on the field after they've been used kind of ruin Kendama's effect. So that's part of the problem. Some of the reason why I don't like cards like Powerful Rebirth or Call Behind, but these cards are also really good. Powerful Rebirth in particular allows you to really tweak your level ratios, which is really nice in a synchro deck. Being able to bring a level 1 tutor, make it level 2, really handy. Call On is just a generally good recursion card. If you want to run these over Powerful Rebirth or Reject Reborn, be my guest. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to deck profiles. First off, 3 copies of Speedroid Terratop. Basically, this is a Cyber Dragon and a Deneb all in one card. So basically, if you control no monsters, you can special summon this from your hand. Then, when it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand except itself. Probably, if you notice a lot of the decks that are running a Speedroid engine, such as Burning Abyss, they may only be running 2 targets, but they're maxing out on this. That's because they want to see it, because it's a great card. It's a 1-card Dante, but in this deck, it's a 1-card Clear Wing, because it searches out your entire deck, and it's really, really important. And then 3 copies of Takken Tomborg. Tomborg is sort of like your what's the card called? Sort of like your Blackwing whatever monster. If you control a wind monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can also, it has kind of like a Blackwing and Lone Fire kind of melded together basically, and then when you contribute it to summon any of your tuners from your deck, but you cannot special summon anything but wind monsters. It means you can make Crystal Wing, Clear Wing, Stardust Dragon, but you can't make Trish or Scarlight, so it's really something you need to think about when you do use this card's effect. It does prevent, it only lets you make wind monsters. 3 copies of Double Yo-Yo. Unlike these guys, Double Yo-Yo only activates when normal summoned, so when you normal summon it, it's a Wolf Bark, basically grabs any level 3 or lower Speedrun monster and special summons it. Really good for your recurring plays. You do need to remember that this can't grab Minko or any of your level 4s. That's one of the reasons I don't run a lot of them. So yeah. And then, speaking of Minko, 2 copies of Minko, everyone's favorite battle type hand trap. So when your opponent's monster declares an direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and all their monsters go to defense mode. In some ways, I like this card. It depends on what you think, because Battle Fader is technically the better card, but in this deck, I feel like Minko is a really good card. 2 of is kind of an ideal number. You just need to remember cards like Crystal Wing, cards like there are a lot of cards that your opponent can use to stop them. Meteor Burst Dragon is really popular right now for cards like this, but it's really good. Your opponents, it's like Mirror Force, your opponents will just run into it. And then 3 copies, for the tuners, 3 copies of Red-Eyed Dice. Basically, it's your level 1 tuner, so obviously you can grab it from the deck with 1-for-1. But its effect is when it's normal special summoned, you can target one speedrun monster you control except itself, declare a level for 1/6, and it becomes that level. Basically, this card is your gate to all your entire extra deck, basically. If you need to make a level 5, like a Chambara or a Hagata, you can with this card. If you need to make a Clear Wing, you can. If you need to make a Kendama or a puzzle, you can. Basically, this card is the gateway to a lot of your plays. It's all, and it's not once per turn. You need to remember that. It's not like Terror Top where it's once per turn. So that's really good, and it allows you to. It's one of the better tuners to make your Crystal Wing. Then 2 copies of Speedroid Din Dai Go Duke, because it's kind of a long name, but its effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon one Speedroid tuner from your hand or graveyard except itself. This allows you to reuse your tuners, which is really good. It combos really well with your Hagata, because say you have a Triad Dice in the grave, you can banish this, special the dice, then bring your Hagata right back and make another Crystal Wing. So it's really neat addition to the deck. And of course, 2 Triad Dice. Again, this is another battle-related trap. It's a level 3 tuner, but it's also a Necrogardna, so pretty good. I like the card too because I feel like Dice is easily the best tuner monster, so you don't really want to clog your deck with too many tuners. And then the spells, some of the 1-ofs, 1 Foolish Burial, being able to send a card to bring off with your yo-yo is really good. It sets up your grave. 1-for-1, 1-for-1 is really good. Kind of speaks for itself. 1 Regeki, being able to clear your opponent's board before you OTK them is important. Yes, its Pella monsters go back to the extra deck and Cosmos Flood, but that's, I still think Regeki's a good card. 2 Shock Surprise. Running this card was a decision because this deck loses heavily to back row cards like any of the Mirror Forces, cards like the Mirror Forces, cards like Regeki, Dark Hole, Board Wipes, and back row just hit. This deck does not like them, so Shock Surprise kind of comes in. Unlike Twin Twister, though, you simply banish up to 2 Speedroid monsters from your graveyard, then target up to that many cards on the field, destroy them. So this card can also destroy, so it can destroy up to 2 back rows as well as 2 monsters. So say your opponent has, 2 monsters just sitting there, you can use Shock Surprise. And it does target those. You can't target those big Cosmos ships. And then 1 Soul Charge, because it's a synchro deck, and a lot of your it's much like, think of it like Tellarknights. You Soul Charge and activate all your effects. It's just really good. 3 copies of Speed Recovery. This is your monster reborn in the deck. You can target 1 Speedroid monster in your graveyard, including your synchro monsters. Special summon them, and much like Breakthrough Skill does a second effect in the grave during your main phase, except the turn the card was sent there. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then add 1 Speedroid monster from your graveyard to your hand. I really like this card. It has a lot of really good aspects, being able to cycle cards and being able to, free monster reborn is never bad. 2 Twin Twisters, much like Shock Surprise. This was a decision meant to clear back row, and I feel like this card is pretty much defining one of the defining cards of the format, because it's making players. It's kind of harkening back to those days of Heavy Storm, where you really have to think of the number of cards you set. Yes, you can still set 5 and pass, but you can't set 2 you have to set, you have to think you can't set 2 because they're going to get Twin Twist. You can set 1 or 3. You kind of have to. I feel like the card, while it's irritating to play against, at the same time I understand that that's what it's built for. It's meant to like scales and punish people who set the wrong number of back row cards. And 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. This does screw a little bit with your OTKs, but it's a consistency factor, especially in a combo deck. I feel like honestly, like I look at all of my decks in real life as well, and outside of maybe Heroes, I can justify playing this card. For the traps, 2 Solemn Strike. I feel like when I was running the entire Solemn Brigade, I tend to draw too many traps, and that's kind of a weakness of a deck like this, is if you're drawing too many traps, and that's honestly the problem I ran into running the whole Solemn Brigade. But Strike's probably the best trap card of the format. 2 Storming Mirror Force. You can run whatever Mirror Force you like. Do you like Burying Mirror Force? That's fine. Do you like Rippling Mirror Force? Try that. But I feel like Storming is the best because it gets rid of extra deck threats. It sends them back to, yes, your opponent can remake them, but if they have a field full of extra deck monsters, this card does remove all the threats back to the extra where they belong. And then 2 copies of Following. If you don't know what this card does, it came out, I believe, in the TCG version of Bosch. What this card does is it's a generic you can activate by target any synchro monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So for you guys out there playing maybe like any kind of like junk doppel deck, this card is really good because it protects your big beefy monster. That's really important. And then start the damage step. If it battles a level 5 or higher monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. If you do, that monster, the targeted synchro monster gains attack until the end of the turn. When the monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So why that's relevant is that it basically turns all of your synchro monsters into a clear wing, into a crystal wing, which is really good. Being able to say you have one of your synchro monsters out, your opponent drops, say, a Dark Destroyer. Well, this card is your opponent's going to have to get rid of this before they get over your monster. It's really good. And then last traps are 2 copies of Reject Reborn. I've tested this card, and it is good when it goes off, but it rarely does. What I mean by that is that if you don't know what this card is, where it came from, Jack Atlas used it in the Arc 5 anime. Basically, he used it against you to try to attack him directly, and he brought his Red Wyvern and his Red Resonator back from the graveyard. So what this does is your opponent declares a direct attack in the battle phase, and that is and that means you can in the battle phase no matter what. Then you can special summon 1 tuner and 1 synchro monster from your graveyard, but their effects are negated. What I like about this card is that the first effect is optional. You don't have to have a tuner and a non-tuner and a synchro monster in the grave to loop them back via this card's effect. So the good thing is, no matter what, you're going to end the battle phase. It can also allow you to loop your Crystal Wing right back. You can bring in Haggadah and a Triad Dice and just immediately just synchro up for Crystal Wing again. So it's really good. For the extra deck, 2 copies of Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I've never really felt the need for more than 2. 2's kind of like a great number. I've never really found myself in the need for the 3rd one. Same thing kind of applies with Crystal Wing. Yes, you can make the 3rd one. Yes, Asian Eye says you can make the 3rd one. You don't need to. If you really want to make another Synchro Monster, Stardust is far more optimal, for obvious reasons. 2 High Speedroid Chanbara. The thing you need to remember about this card is the last part of the text. You can only special summon Chanbara once per turn. But the cool thing about this card is that it can attack twice, and every time it battles, it gains 200 attack. So it attacks twice, hits 22, hits 24, and it gains every time it battles. So if it is sent to the graveyard by any means, you can target one of your banished Speedroid monsters, add it to your hands. This card also allows you to recycle your banished Speedroids via Shock Surprise, and maybe your dice or anything else you might have banished. 2 copies of Haggadah. This is another one of the new synchros. I don't know if we got this card in Bosch or whatever, but if you don't know what this card does, you can tribute this card and increase the levels of all monsters your opponent controls by 1. I'll have to record this later.